It was during this time that I met what would be my future husband. And of all strange places, I met him on a bus stop. And how it came about was that this strange young man came up to me in the bus, and he said he'd paid my fare because I'd forgotten to pay it. Now, I can't tell you the ins and outs of this at all, but anyhow, that's how we met. And I was still going to this School of Beauty Culture in London, and he actually had dark brown eyes and a fairly dark skin. I mean, he was English. But I remember once one of the instructors coming up to me and saying, "The foreign gentleman is waiting for you downstairs." I think he was about 32. I was 18 still. Yes, he lived just down the road in a most interesting cottage called the Anne Boleyn Cottage. And can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
He was living there with his mother, and his mother had broken her hip, and she was in hospital at the time I met Kenneth on the bus. And this Anne Boleyn Cottage was very, very, very ancient, and it was discovered that it was joined by a long, long tunnel to Hampton Court Palace. And originally, centuries before, underneath this cottage, only way, way down, had been a leper colony. And the servants used to come from the Hampton Court Palace down the tunnel and leave food for them every day and ring a bell and then go away again because of the lepers, you know. And that was the story of his cottage. And they had found bones and things down there, you know.
Wow.
But he didn't know anything about that for a long time after he went to live there. But it was strange, that cottage, because I've been there spending an evening with him now and then, and this little dog, Bess, which was his dog, would be lying in her basket in the living room, and she'd suddenly perk up, and she'd look all around the living room, and she'd be following something with her eyes that we couldn't see, and she was shivering and shaking. And that happened twice. I actually saw that happen.
What she was looking at.
And there was one particular bedroom door, apparently upstairs, that would never stay shut. You'd close it at night, but it would always be open in the morning.
Do you think it was a ghost?
There was some influence there. There was no doubt about it. Who knows what, you know. And actually, in one corner of the living room, Kenneth's mother, who wasn't there at that time, but earlier, she was very down-to-earth, very matter-of-fact, not a person who would see things. And she woke up one morning in her bedroom when it was barely light, and she could see a man standing in the corner, but he wasn't on the floor. He was higher up, and all she could remember was that he had shoes with the ends turned over. And as the light got stronger and stronger, just gradually faded away. And she told us this in the most matter-of-fact way you can imagine. And there had apparently been a story that originally there was a staircase in that corner up above, and actually he had hanged himself from a rafter. So there was a lot of stories connected with that cottage, but it was a lovely little place.